I respect Chris Paul. And it's so funny because me and Josh were talking about this. After Phoenix got eliminated, and a lot of people thought Phoenix, being that they were the number 1 seed, they had one of the best seasons since that Golden State Warriors season that they had when they won, 70-some-odd games?
73-9.
Yes, and Phoenix won like 68 or 69.
67, yep.
67 this year. And they had a great season. Everybody was picking, including yours truly, thinking that Phoenix was going to win the whole thing. And they just didn't show up. Chris Paul didn't show up in that game. Devin Booker didn't show up in that game. Nobody showed up in that game. It looked like they didn't even want to play in the game. And Luka Doncic could do nothing wrong in game number 7. Nothing. But I will say this. I respect Chris Paul after the game talking to the press and blaming himself for the whole thing. Taking all the blame. And that shows leadership. Now, you could say whatever you want. Have you ever seen Steph Curry take responsibility for his team getting knocked out of the playoffs?
You definitely haven't seen Draymond do that.
Have you ever heard Draymond Green take responsibility for Golden State getting knocked out of the playoffs? How about Klay Thompson taking responsibility for his team getting knocked out of the playoffs? Answer that question. But Chris Paul, who hasn't been successful in the playoffs, never won an NBA championship. And if he never wins an NBA championship, he's always going to be brought down to that, where you were a great player, and I believe the greatest point guard of this generation, you just still couldn't win a championship. But guess what? John Stockton never won a championship, and he's one of the greatest point guards of that era. Jason Kidd finally won a championship with Dallas when he wasn't even the starting point guard.
Yep, the scrappy 2011 Mavericks. Gotta love them.
Barrera was.
Yes.
There are a lot of point guards that never got a chance to win a championship, and it's very, very hard to win a championship. It's facts. Russell Westbrook, great point guard for a significant amount of time, never won a championship. Damian Lillard, another one, never won a championship. We could go look at rosters for years. Mark Price, Cavaliers, never won an NBA championship. Chris Paul might never win an NBA championship. But what I respect about Chris Paul is the man understands the game. The man knows how to take and understands humility. And I also believe that who Chris Paul is as a player doesn't define him as a parent or a father on and off the basketball court. And that's all you could say about Chris Paul. And I respect him for being who he is.
Yeah, and it's never come out that Chris Paul has ever been a guy that's been a bad teammate or a not classy guy. Yeah, he'll trash talk here and there, and he'll
You've heard things that happen in this series. And,
but again, that was inflicted by the fans.
Yeah.
That was something that was irrational and terrible that should never happen. And that kind of thing, you never see Chris Paul do as the first guy to start that kind of thing. He's not going to be the one that starts firing up any fans, any players like that in any way. And again, there's a lot of NBA narratives that say championships define everything in a player, which, yeah, it might matter as a tiebreaker. It might matter as some kind of leverage, but you're talking about a guy that's been a dominant point guard for 15 years, even as a young player, was a great point guard, a good team leader for New Orleans when they were the Hornets. This is a guy that's had a great team impact on many different franchises, including this Suns team. Yeah, this debacle is as big of a debacle in a Game 7 as you'll ever see. That's understandable. But what were the Suns 2 years ago? They were as a fringe playoff team that always had high expectations, never got into the playoffs. So they even got to that far. They made the NBA Finals last year. So, yes, it's a terrible Game 7 debacle. I was laughing. My brother Aiden told me they had 30 points at the half or something like that. I didn't think he was real life.
76 to 35, I think.
Yeah, I know. I couldn't believe it was real life because we were celebrating, so I didn't see the game. He said he had 30 points at halftime. Like, are you sure it wasn't the end of the first quarter? Like, what? And then I saw At one point in the third quarter, Luka Doncic was only 4 points away from outscoring the whole Phoenix Suns team.
And I want to say
the third quarter.
And I want to say something about Luka Doncic. And you listen to Chris Paul say what he said about Luka Doncic. I think it definitely lit a fire not only under Luka Doncic but the whole Dallas Maverick team. Mm-hmm. They respect the kid. And ever since Kristaps Porzingis has been traded, this has been a completely different team. And now you see who the cancer was over there with the Dallas Mavericks. It was Kristaps Porzingis. Because ever since Kristaps has been gone, Spencer Dinwiddie was a great addition. I mean, Brunson really has taken over as a great point guard in this league who's going to make a lot of money in the offseason. He's going to, if the Knicks don't give it to him, somebody's going to give it to him because I know Dallas is not going to be able to afford it.
How about the guy directly taking his position, too? Max Kleber, another European big man, has played well in the playoffs for them.
Absolutely. So, and Luka Doncic scoring 35 and 10 in game number 7, 30 minutes was fantastic. It just shows you, the future where the NBA is going. A 23-year-old Slovenian kid who's he gets better and better every single year. I think Mark Cuban was absolutely right trading up to get this kid. Right. And he really has changed the Dallas Mavericks ever since Dirk Nowitzki has retired. I mean, it's a sensational story. And I'm rooting for Dallas. I hope they win this series because I can't stand the Golden State Warriors.
We know.
But do I think this is going to happen? I probably don't. I think them making it all the way to the Western Conference Finals is a great story. Them winning the West, I can't see it. So
there's a certain level of battle test that I think the Mavericks still gained from this, though, that everyone was saying throughout the year. Okay, there are a couple players, great top players, and they don't have much depth. Brunson had a phenomenal year, all-star caliber year. Luka Doncic, we know, is a top 3 player in the NBA, maybe the best. And where was the rest of the production going to come from was the question. Dwight Powell, Dorian Finney-Smith, Kleber, like I mentioned. Where are these other guys going to play? Frank Ntilikina, former Knick. Trey Burke, former Knick. Like all of these guys that we forget about had their roles. Frank Ntilikina defensively in Game 7 was fantastic. Fantastic.
Well, we knew he was going to be a fantastic defender.
And I think Chris Paul and Devin Booker combined for like 3 shots only when guarded by him. Like that's how good he was individually. So there are certain aspects of Dallas that you could say Golden State doesn't have in terms of being battle tested. Golden State, most of their wins were blowouts, except for game 1 against the Grizzlies. So yes, there's a certain experience level and fire to that too, but they're dealing with a lot of injury issues themselves too. And I don't know, if you can't come out against Phoenix the way their depth is built, I don't know if you can count them as a Golden State either.
Let's get into the Eastern Conference Finals. The Boston Celtics, where everybody has them winning in 6 games, which is a joke, against the Miami Heat, who I think has been the best team in the Eastern Conference all season long. And they've been fighting injury all season long. They have the 6th player of the year in Tyler Hero all season long. And Jimmy Butler's finally getting healthy. Oladipo is finally getting healthy. And yes, the bigger team is probably, if the Celtics get Williams back, who knows, they're the bigger team.
Looked like he was playing in game 1, so that's a good sign for them.
But to me, the best all-around team in this series is the Miami Heat. They're the better run coach team. Okay, this is a coach that's won multiple NBA championships. Okay? He has won NBA championships. Yes, he coached LeBron and Chris Bosh and Chris Paul. That's great. He has won with every single team that he's coached for.
His better coaching product has been without them.
Yes.
He's grown his scheme, his game. That's a big, scary thing.
And when you look at this team as a whole, and you look at this roster of the Heat, and listen, I have a lot of respect for the roster of the Boston Celtics. I like Tatum. I think he's fantastic. I repeat, I am not a big fan of Jaylen Brown. But do I respect his game? Do I think he's a great two-way player? Do I think he's one of the top 10 two-way players in the NBA? The answer is no. Yes. Marcus Smart, I didn't think he was the defensive player of the year. I'll be the first person to tell you I was wrong. He's been a fantastic perimeter defender all season long. So you can't throw this team under the bus, even some of the players that they added at the trade deadline. But here's the Heat. The Heat has more depth. They have more guys that have won championships on this roster. Jimmy Butler, who's never won a championship, has been a successful NBA playoff player and one of the more underrated defenders in all of the NBA. Tyler Hero is one of the best young three-point shooters, six men in the NBA. Kyle Lowry is one of the more underrated point guards all his years in the NBA. I remember when he jumped, 2 teams before he fell to Toronto, and I know the Knicks were interested in him. He went to Toronto and then helped them win a championship, was a main reason why they won a championship. Victor Oladipo is one of the more underrated offensive players in this league, and you can ask anybody that watched him play for Indiana Pacers. Earl hates Boston. Oh, of course you're gonna open your mouth. Why don't you just shut up, Jeff?
I think he had Miami over Milwaukee too, if I remember correctly. I know I definitely did. That was before Middleton got hurt. I had them in the Eastern Conference Finals against Milwaukee. Once Middleton was hurt, I picked the Celtics. But I had
Middleton.
Miami
When Middleton got hurt, I had the Celtics beating Milwaukee.
Yeah, you did.
Okay, so I don't hate Boston. Shut your mouth, you big fat bastard. Okay, I'm so sick and tired of you. You piss me off. You got something to say? Call the show, you fat piece of crap. I'm so sick and tired of your big fat mouth. You don't know what you're talking about. Go ahead, call the show. Call the show. Put him on. Put this ass on the phone. Put this ass on the phone. What are you gonna say, Jeff? What big fucking mouth? Go ahead. Speak. Go ahead. Say it. Say it. Spit it out.
Are you done yelling? Spit it out. I just want to make sure. Think it's funny that everyone goes, "Oh, the Bucks didn't win because they didn't have Middleton." Yeah, Rob Williams didn't play in that series either, and he's a rim protector. Do injuries only work one way? Like, do we only count injuries on one side? Well, if the Bucks had Middleton, okay. What if the Celtics had Rob Williams in that series?
No, I said what? Jeff. I said at the start of the playoffs. I didn't say when they got hurt.
Right, but I'm just saying because he's like, oh, once Middleton got hurt. Well, Rob Williams wasn't playing. So, do we only get to say, oh, if one team got back their guys from injury?
Hey, Jeff, let me ask you a question. Jeff. Rob Williams, who you think is the next thing since sliced bread, is he anywhere close to the player Middleton is?
He's a terrific rim defender.
Is he better than Middleton?
No, he's not better than Middleton, but it would help guard Giannis. That's what you're missing, though. Better defense on Giannis. Maybe they wouldn't have to rotate so many guys to him. You're pretending like the Celtics team isn't predicated on defense, and they'd be able to play better defense if they had a big body presence that would be able to guard Antetokounmpo.
And we're not even talking about Milwaukee. We're talking about Miami, which is a completely different beast.
No, you were just talking about Milwaukee. Once
Middleton got hurt, and we knew that he wasn't playing in that series, I had the Celtics winning the series.
Right,
actually had him in 6.
But why do people only count injuries on one side? You act like if Middleton was there and Rob Williams was still out, fine. But what if Rob Williams came back? The Celtics still would have beat the Bucks. The Celtics were the 2 seed. What seed were the Bucks?
They were a 3 seed, but that's also because
the Celtics were better.
The Warriors beat the Grizzlies. They were 3 versus 2. Dallas beat Phoenix. They were 4-1.
And by the way, it wasn't even close in a game 7. The Celtics body bagged them. They were up like 35. No fight in the Bucks. None. Giannis, choker. Horrible big game player. Go sit down, Giannis.
I think the NBA wanted the series to go 7 games, and that's why they helped Milwaukee out.
Clearly,
and I said that to you. I said that to you throughout the playoffs that Milwaukee should have lost in 5.
That's very clear that was the case. How many clips did I post on social media about the referee? Dude, I got a clip. Giannis took 6 steps. Nope, didn't call the travel, gave him the layup. Giannis holding Jaylen Brown down, and they called the foul on Jaylen Brown. Of course they were helping Milwaukee. It was a joke, the referee in that series. But Boston overcame it. They're not the New York Rangers. They overcome bad reffing.
Again, I thought that Boston should have won in 5 games. I was saying that. I think the referees were keeping them in that series. But this is a different series. This is a completely different series. Ton of players that have playoff experience, that have won championships on this Miami Heat team. They have a tremendous good leadership. They have a great coach. I think this team has the depth to beat anybody. And I'm going to tell you this right now. Remember I said this. Whoever comes out of the East wins the whole thing.
Could.
No.
Could.
I'm
I'm not putting anything past Luka because he's been terrific.
Yeah.
So I'm not putting anything past him.
Whoever wins in the Eastern Conference wins the whole thing. And I'll take that to the bank.
Yeah, more than likely, that's fine. But the two teams in the West are playing good, but still can't discount them Boston Celtics. They're fighting tonight. They're down, 15 or 16 right now. But again, without Smart and without Horford, tough to beat a team when you're missing two starters.